Hey friends! My name is Desiree, aka Momma Friendly, and I do all sorts of videos on my channel, from cooking videos to planner videos, vlogs, hauls, homeschool videos with a Disney twist, a little bit of everything. So if any of that sounds like fun to you, I hope that you'll subscribe and join me on my YouTube adventure. For the last couple of years, we've been doing Disney homeschool themed videos around Disney movies, characters, or rides. This year, I decided to change things up and we're still doing Disney themed homeschooling, but we're going to be centering our lessons around the Epcot World Showcase. I thought this would be a great theme to base our lessons on because it gives us so much opportunity for different branches of learning. Obviously, we're learning about geography. We're going to learn about each of the different countries' languages and traditions and culture, how people live there as opposed to how we live. So we've got social studies thrown in the mix as well. I'm of course throwing in a lot of life skills. So cooking has always been an important part of our homeschool series, and we're going to aim to create an authentic recipe every single time that has to do with the country or traditions that we're studying. And of course, from a sensory perspective, I love including art projects in our theming, so every video is going to include at least 1 or 2 different art projects. Something else to consider is that my child is on the autism spectrum. He has nonverbal autism, and so we're going to be tailoring the activities obviously to his level because he is the child that I am teaching. You can of course feel free to tailor these activities to whatever developmental or educational level makes sense for the kiddos that you're teaching. I'm gonna do my best to include resources and activities in a Pinterest board that pertains to each and every theme. So all of these videos are gonna have a Pinterest board linked in the description box so you could check it out. This will give you some ideas for activities that we didn't get to cover in the video, or even ideas for taking the activities we did do and tweaking them to fit kiddos of different ages or different abilities. One big consideration that I wanted to make before jumping into this particular string of themed videos is that I wanted to make sure to approach this from a place of cultural appreciation and not appropriation. I want to be able to respect the people and the traditions of these countries without resorting to tropes. That being said, we're going to try to be as authentic as possible in all of our facts, in all of our art activities, especially in all of our recipes. I'm going to try my best to outsource this information from people native to the countries that we're studying wherever I'm able. So now that I've explained a little bit about what we're trying to do here, let's jump into the country for this month. Our first video in the series is dedicated to the very first pavilion at the Epcot World Showcase. If you're going my way anyways, I know it's controversial, but I like to start on the left and go through Mexico first. Yep, you guessed it, we're doing Mexico. I think it's fitting because this is Hispanic Heritage Month. When I was growing up, it was the entire month of October. I'm not sure when they changed it to be midway September through midway October, but if that's the case, we've just missed it. I'm going by my own experience, which is we're smack in the middle of Hispanic Heritage Month right now. So in this video, we're going to be covering some facts about Mexico. We're going to be covering some traditions, particularly around their Independence Day, which is not Cinco de Mayo, like a lot of people think, and Dia de los Muertos, which happens at the end of this month. We're also going to be cooking an authentic Mexican recipe that was given to me by a person from Mexico. We're going to be learning about Mexican instruments. We're going to be reading books about children that live in Mexico and how their lives are different than ours. And we're going to be doing 2 different art projects. Along the way, of course, I'm going to be showing you all of the ingredients that we're using, all of the materials that we're using, and all of the resources that we're pulling from, so that if you want to recreate these lessons yourselves at home with your own kiddos, you are able to follow along with us. Let's dive into our Mexico studies. Come here. Do you know where Mexico is? Look, Mexico is right there. Yeah. We learned so many interesting facts in our month celebrating Mexico. For example, we learned that the eagle in the middle of the Mexican flag is a symbol of the sun and a representation of a victorious god. He takes the form of the eagle to bow to the arriving Aztecs. The color green was chosen to represent independence from Spain. The red stood for the union between the native peoples of Mexico and the elites of European heritage, and the color white was adopted to represent the purity of Roman Catholicism, which is the main religion of Mexico. We also learned that Mexican Independence Day is actually September 16th. So many people in the States think that Cinco de Mayo is actually their Independence Day because we celebrate it so much. But actually in Mexico, unless you're from a very small part of the country, Cinco de Mayo doesn't mean a whole lot. It's actually just the date of a particular battle. But Independence Day is, like I said, September 16th, and that is celebrated throughout the entire country of Mexico. Another day that's celebrated all throughout Mexico is Dia de los Muertos, or Day of the Dead. It's traditionally celebrated on November 1st and 2nd, but depending on where you are in the country, you could celebrate any time between October 31st and November 6th. It's portrayed as a holiday of joyful celebration of our family and friends that have passed rather than of mourning. People can remember their friends and family members who have died, and the celebrations are usually pretty humorous and lighthearted. They like to remember funny events and anecdotes about the departed. They make altars, they play music. It seems like a really beautiful way to celebrate people that we love. We read some lovely books, we played with some instruments, and I'm going to have as many of these resources as I could find linked down below in the description box, so that if you want to get these books for yourselves as well, you're able to do so with ease. We did it! High five. Yeah. We're going to use this Crayola air dry clay, which I have confirmed is gluten-free. We're also going to use a rolling pin, and then we have some takeout utensils here, so I thought this would be fun to use as tools. And we're going to make some clay sun faces. Apparently these are called Metapec clay suns. And this is a traditional Mexican pottery art form. So I've got, this is the 2.5 pound container. And I'm going to link this in the description box. And like I said, we know for sure this is gluten-free because I double checked, and if it weren't gluten-free, I would not have bought it. We're going to rip up a couple bits. We're going to use our rolling pin to try to get them as flat as possible. And I really like that this comes in a tub, because now I'm going to put this all away for us to use at another time. So we're going to roll these out. Look, Ba, I'm going to make a circle. Kiddo is not a big fan of these sensory type things, so I'm going to help him out some. He's going to have a better time using the tools, I think. Look. Can we get this? Yeah, you're excited? So we're going to get this, and we're going to smush and roll, roll, roll. You got it? It's like you're cooking. See? Look, let's turn it. And we're going to roll, roll, roll. Wow, that's pretty nice. Good work. Oh, I'm trying to smush the middle down real good there so that it's even. Pretty nice. I probably should have done this on something, because I worry when we try to peel it up it might crack. So now that this one's circly, we'll put it on a tray, and that way we don't have to worry about anything happening to it while it dries later. So I'll put that aside, and let's get this one. You're gonna do the same thing. You gotta smush, smush, push, 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 and now roll. You ready? Oh, oh, you got a big smile. That's good. That makes me happy. I thought you were going to be like, yuck, 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 but you're enjoying this. Here, should we turn it? Here, let's turn it. There goes the AC. Sorry about the background noise. We're gonna flat, 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 flat. Wow. I like it. Do you like it? Yeah? Good. Okay, so we're going to pick this one up. This one looks more like an oval, but that's cool. I like it. So now we can make faces. So I'm going to open this. Look, do you want to do, you want the circle or the oval? You pick which one you like. Which one you like? You can have the circle because it looks more like a sun. I'm going to make some triangles.
Lamp.
Lamp? You want to make a lamp? Lamps don't have faces though. I'm going to do some triangles. It almost looks like a jack-o'-lantern, right? I'm going to do a smile. I'm going to do a curvy line and another curvy line a little bit. I'm trying to dig this out a little bit. I don't know if this is a great idea, but do you like it? Yeah, I thank you for helping me. Trying to make a little trench here. I don't know if we should do this for yours because I think that maybe this was a little extra. I don't think we need to do all this. And for the eyes, you know what? I'm going to leave the eyes just like that because I kind of don't love what I did here anyways. I might flatten this out again because I really don't like how that turned out. So Mommy's going to flatten, flatten, flatten her smile. Flatten, flatten, flatten. Oh, I think the remedy was worse than just leaving it be. But that's fine. It's art, right? It's a work in progress. So Mommy's going to make her smile again. And do this creepy smile. I'm going to let it dry just like that. Look, do you want to do smile and eyes? Here. Oh, we're done with this part. Let's get the knife. Here, you want to make a shape? You can do shapes here. You want to do circle or a triangle?
Diamond.
Okay, we can do a diamond. Here, so let me help you. We're going to make a diamond.
Okay.
So we're going to do 1, 2, 3, and 4. Let's do another one. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Good. Okay, so do you want your face to be happy or
happy?
Happy? Okay, that was an easy choice. Here, let's make a smile for him then. So we'll make a sort of squiggle here and another sort of squiggle there. Wow, look how happy he is. And look, to make it look like a sun, now we can get the fork and look what we're going to do. We're going to smush, smush, smush. So it's sort of like the little rays of the sun all along outside of his face. You could also make little clay like triangles if you want and attach them all around. But we're going to go this way because this way is a little less sensory demanding and it still gives us the same sort of sun shape.
Yellow.
Yeah, suns are yellow. So that's actually a good point. We're going to come back and paint these.
Red.
We can use red also. So we need to paint these, but we have to let them dry, and that might take a couple days.
Red. Orange.
Red, orange, and yellow. Yep, we're going to use all those colors. We'll come back in a couple days when they're dry and finish our art. But I think those are pretty cool. Today is a very special day. It's been 48 hours since we made our sun masks. So they're dry and we're going to go ahead and paint them today. We've got a bunch of these Crayola washable paints. So I'm going to use that and we're going to use paint brushes for this. You could use finger painting if you want. Like I've mentioned before, my son is not the most sensory seeking when it comes to tactile things, textures, and he really don't get along. So these sorts of activities help me expose him to things like paint without completely immersing him to the point where he's uncomfortable. Another thing we're going to do today is I've got this tablecloth. It's just a cheapy plastic tablecloth. You could get these at the Dollar Tree. I got this one on Amazon for $1.30, so just slightly more expensive than you'd find at Dollar Tree, but I didn't have to go out and get it and fight those crowds for a tablecloth. So what I'm going to do with this white tablecloth is I'm going to open it up. I'm going to find the midway point, so it's going to be folded in half. So now that I've found just about the center and I've folded it in half, I'm going to cut sort of like a deep V, if you will. So I've cut a little sort of neck hole here, and I'm going to have my son use markers to paint stripes all over this tablecloth so that he can make his own sarape. Lots of fun art activities today. I am very much looking forward to this. Now obviously our sarape is not going to be authentic. Sarape typically is like a blanket shawl that's worn over the shoulders, and it's typically worn by men in Mexico. It's made of wool and it comes in bright colors. So the bright colors and sort of the stripy pattern is pretty much all that we've got going for us as far as authenticity is concerned. But I thought it was a fun way to learn about this tradition. So for our Mexican recipe, I actually took to Facebook because I happen to be in South Florida. We are a melting pot down here. And I said, listen guys, here's what's going on. My son and I want to approach Mexican culture from a respectful, authentic place. I know there's a ton of cookbooks out there. I know I could just Google, but I would rather go straight to the source. So if you are actually from Mexico, let me know what is something typical that your family eats, something that screams Mexico, something that is true and authentic to your culture. And I got so many replies, most of them reminding me that depending on where in Mexico you are, what's authentic or what's typical can vary. And that makes perfect sense, of course. It's impossible to boil down an entire country, an entire culture into one meal. But the recipe that I landed on was for something called sopes. So sopes, to my understanding, is almost like a tortilla and an arepa had a baby, in that you use the same kind of finely milled white corn flour that you would use in an arepa, but you're making a tortilla-ish situation in that it's a sope. I mean, it's a tortilla, but when it's just done cooking, you pinch the edges a little bit so that it almost takes on like a basket shape. And then you load it with your toppings, so it almost ends up being like an open-faced sandwich, like a tostada, but it's a completely different texture. I had one Mexican new friend in particular send me her favorite recipe, and so that's what we're going to be following today. And a recipe like this is great in particular for sensory exploration because there's going to be a lot of kneading with your hands, so we're going to get in there and actually feel around with the dough. If your kiddo is like mine and prefers not to have those kinds of experiences, they can still help chopping, they can help measuring, and of course topping your sopes at the end. So let me show you the ingredients that I'm working with. Remember that our family is gluten and dairy free, so I am going to be making some substitutions or adaptations where necessary so that the recipe is still accessible to us while maintaining as authentic to the original recipe as possible. And I'm going to have that original recipe that I found linked in the description box below as well. Let's get going. So for the dough of the sopes, we're going to need 1.5 cups of masa harina. I like the Pan brand. It's the kind I always have on hand for making arepas, so it's what I'm going to use today for the sopes. You also need 1.25 cups of warm water. We're going to mix the masa harina and the warm water in a bowl and knead it until it's uniform in texture. If it feels dry, add a little more water, tiny bits at a time until the dough is soft and manageable, kind of like Play-Doh. If you're in a place that's very humid, you might not need to add any more water. If it's a little too watery, or you could always add a little bit more flour. Just make sure that it's pliable and keep that Play-Doh reference in mind as far as the texture you're looking for. Once the dough's ready, we're gonna cover it with a wet kitchen towel, set it aside. This is gonna help keep the dough moist while we move on to our next steps. The rest of our ingredients are gonna function as toppings. So I have a can of refried beans here that I've just warmed up on the stove, 2 cups of finely shredded lettuce. You can use either 1.5 cups of cooked beef or shredded chicken. I decided to use up some ground beef and I just put some taco seasoning on top. If you wanted to use cheese, you could use about 1/2 cup of Mexican cheese or queso fresco crumbled. That would be the most authentic route. We've got 1/4 cup of white onion, finely chopped. The recipe calls for 1/2 cup of Mexican crema, which is basically like sour cream with a slightly different texture. We of course are dairy free, so I'm gonna be using this vegan sour cream in its place. And if desired, you could use some salsa, you could use thinly sliced radishes, avocados, tomatoes, pickled jalapenos or pickled carrots. These are just some examples of typical toppings. We're also gonna need 4 tablespoons of vegetable oil or lard for cooking the sopes themselves. So once all your toppings are ready to go, you have your meat cooked, etc., we're gonna divide our dough into 10 pieces of the same size. Heat your griddle, or in our case, our nonstick pan, to medium-high heat. To form the sopes, we're gonna take some plastic wrap, about 2 squares that are 6 inches each. We're gonna place a piece of plastic on a tortilla press, put one of the small balls of dough in it and cover it with the other bit of plastic, then close the tortilla press and press down gently until you form about a medium-sized thick tortilla of about 4.5 inches. I do not have a tortilla press, so I am going to use basically a couple of plates, because the idea here is just that you want it flat and even. You don't need to have the most authentic tools. Once we're at the shape and size that we require, we're going to lift this top part, remove the top plastic, pick up the tortilla, holding it with the plastic piece at the bottom still, and gently flip it onto the palm of your hand. Place the tortilla on the already hot griddle or hot pan. We're gonna turn the tortilla after just a minute. You don't want it to cook too much longer or the dough will start to dry and crack. Turn it again after a minute, and the last cooking is just gonna take 20 to 30 seconds. Remove it with the help of a spatula, cover them with a dry kitchen towel. Move them aside and allow them to cool for about 30 to 45 seconds. And then we're gonna pick them up and start forming the border by pinching the edges with your fingers. The tortillas have now become sopes. So when we're ready to serve, we're gonna take our sopes, put them in the pan with the hot oil or lard at medium heat, and we're just gonna lightly fry them on both sides. About 30 seconds per side should be enough. We're just trying to give them a little bit of golden color. Remove them from the heat and onto a plate that's lined with paper towels to absorb any excess fat. And now you are ready to serve, so it's time to spread on your refried beans, your shredded lettuce, your meats, and any other toppings of your choice. These were really, really delicious. They were not that hard to make, and we have an authentic Mexican dish now in our rotation. So obviously, this being a Disney homeschool video, we have to tie Disney in here somehow, right? So we are currently watching a tour of the Mexican Pavilion at Epcot in the World Showcase, which is of course the inspiration for this theme in this video. I'm gonna go ahead and link my favorite one. There are so many versions of this tour all over the internet, but my favorite video is from a channel called 4K WDW, and we really like this channel for tours, not only because the quality of the video is incredible, as you can imagine, it's in 4K, but also he does not speak during the tours. So like I said, there's all sorts of versions of different people giving different tours of every part of Disney, I'm sure, all over the internet if you search. But I like that he doesn't talk, because we can just kind of watch it ourselves. You know, if you're at Disney on your own, nobody's telling you what's going on. You're just getting to take it all in and experience it. So this to me is as close as you can get to actually being in the park while still being at home. And you can see one of the things in the pavilion right now is a cocoa display. It's actually the ante room or the foreroom before you get into the main part of the pavilion is all cocoa and Dia de los Muertos themed. I actually did a video cocoa themed for our homeschool last year, so I'm going to post it in the corner. I'm going to post it in the description box as well. We did a Mexican recipe then also, so you can kind of integrate that into this theming if you'd like to bring more whimsy and more of the Disney characters into your Epcot Mexico lessons. And of course, we can't talk about the Mexico Pavilion without talking about Los Tres Caballeros, which is the theme of the ride in the Mexico Pavilion. Not every pavilion has a ride, but this one does. And you can watch both Coco and Tres Caballeros on Disney Plus. So that's another way to make it a little more fun, bring a little more Disney into the lessons, is by watching the Mexico themed movies on TV also while you're having kind of some downtime during your homeschooling. One more thing I want to show you regarding the actual pavilions at Epcot. I found this book on Amazon and I love this. If you're able to actually go to the parks, I feel like that would be such an amazing way to wrap up the year, is after doing all of our countries, we could end the school year with actually going to Epcot with this book. Let me show you what I like so much about it. It's called Our World Neighbors, and as you can see, here's our table of contents. It gives you opportunities to research things you're gonna need for your trip. And once you're actually at the park, you can go through each country and you can actually interview people that work at the parks, ask them what city they're from, because typically in the World Showcase, they tend to hire people that are native to the country they're representing. So you can ask them what their favorite food is, what are their favorite hobbies at home. If they'll allow you to take a picture, you could even take a picture and then post it when you get home. It shows you how to greet them in their language. So it's a real cool way to like actually immerse your child in the learning that you spent all year doing. Unfortunately, because a great part of the book is an interview section, there's not a whole lot we can do with it currently at home. But like I said, something like this to kind of build up to over the course of the year and then have this be like a final, if you will, but like, how could it be bad? You're going to Disney. You know what I mean? It's just an opportunity to take everything you've learned and apply it to real life. I'm just blown away by this. I love the idea of this book so much that I had to get it in hopes that eventually we'll be able to actually go in person again and use it ourselves. So I'm gonna have this linked in the description box below as well. All right, friends, that's gonna wrap up our Mexico homeschool theming. It was our very first country at the Epcot World Showcase. I have to say, I really like how the whole thing turned out. I feel like we covered a lot of bases. We got to do a couple art projects. Our recipe was delicious. Maybe not perfect, but it was my first time making it, and I'm sure that it won't be the first time that our recipes don't come out exactly as they should, but we're learning and we're growing, we're introducing ourselves to new things all the time, and I think that that is the absolute point of homeschool. We got to learn a lot of facts about the country, we got to learn about their cultures and traditions, and see how kiddos over there live as opposed to us. I feel like teaching our kiddos about those differences and similarities help make them more empathetic, and that's also obviously another big bonus to homeschool. Gotta make sure those kiddos are well-rounded, right? So I feel pretty good about all the stuff that we managed to cram into this video, but if you feel like there's more that I could have shown you to help you teach your kiddos about the people of Mexico, about the actual place that is Mexico, I would love to hear your suggestions in the comments. Remember, this is a new format for me, so I feel like maybe I'm fumbling around a little bit, but I don't know, I'm proud of it. I feel like we did pretty good, all things considered. And I feel like the whole process of coming up with these homeschool themes and finding activities and whatnot that fit those themes is only going to get better and more streamlined the more we go along. Our next country is going to be Norway, right? Because we're going in order. So if you are Norwegian yourself, if you know someone that is, I would love for you to suggest traditions that you want to make sure that we cover in the next video, traditional recipes, authentic recipes that you think that we should attempt. Let me know all about it in the comments. I'm really looking forward to finding people that are actually from Norway to help enrich our learning of your country. And as always, I want to thank you so much for being here and watching this video. I really hope that you enjoyed it, and if you did, I hope that you will please give it a big thumbs up. I'd also love it if you would subscribe and click that notification bell because I post at least 3 times a week and I wouldn't want you to miss a minute. Thanks so much again for watching. See you real soon!